back to Mr. Emsley. Doug,
Hello.
how are you?
It's getting hot.
It's getting hot. It looks brighter, actually, than even an hour ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's 24, 25 now.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? Give us an update.
All right.
20 hours, right? You've done 20 hours, is that right?
Yeah, 20 hours. So that's 100K.
Wow.
So we're in the final straight.
And we're up to $28,527.
Fantastic.
Actually, no, 28,557. I've just refreshed my screen, so that's another $300 has come in. So that's amazing. Who's with you at the moment, Doug, running?
So I've got Rob Leeming from Charterhouse.
Okay. And
Rob,
he's.
you want to
Did
come
you
around and
want to
say
come and say hello?
Who are you saying hi to?
Yeah. So Dan Assar.
Hi there.
How are you, Rob?
I'm looking forward to this. I think Doug's nearly there.
This is it.
So I'm looking forward to getting there.
So, Rob, you're doing one leg, is that right?
I'm just doing one leg, yeah.
You're just doing the one leg. So, how amazing is Doug doing, especially in the heat? What's it like at the moment?
What is it? It's about 27 degrees, and it's really, really hot. And Doug is still standing. Just.
Yes.
I think just.
Fantastic. And so, Doug, where are you off to next? You still in Guildford, or
Still in Guildford, and I'm about to do the 21st lap of the same course. So even I can find my way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going through your head at the moment, Doug? Seriously, apart from tiredness and fatigue and all that, what's keeping you going?
I think that the efforts of everybody in terms of the industry coming together, the funds that have been raised have been absolutely, just mind-boggling. I mean, everyone's really done a fantastic job. I'd just like to thank everybody. It's great. The money's coming in. It's exceeded our target. Sure. I'm confident we're going to get to our second target. And, I'd just like to thank everybody for their support. It's just been absolutely superb.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you're running for three great charitable initiatives, the Meetings Industries Fund, Eventwell, and obviously the Indian Red Cross Society. And I know you referenced it. Unfortunately, the industry lost Bala through COVID only recently. And I'm sure he's coming into your thoughts. When you start going through a challenge like this, you start thinking about people and things. Is that what you're experiencing? Absolutely.
And, I think the great thing is everybody pulling together, for such great causes.
Yeah. Okay. And
it's all come very quickly from our little discussion at your 24-hour charity event.
You had to outdo me, didn't you? I mean, I was just sitting down. and what's next? What's the next challenge going to be?
Fantastic.
Yeah. So thank you. Listen, we'll let you go. We're going to see you again in about an hour's time.
Great.
But you're almost there, Doug. Keep going.
Thank you.
And good luck for the next hour. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Cheers, Dan.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so that was Doug, and he's entering his 20th hour. So, wow, amazing. Just makes me feel tired just listening. But it is an amazing achievement. I know it's something that, I guess like an event, which it is, it doesn't just happen, right? So he's had to do a lot of preparation. A lot of people along the way have obviously helped him and are still helping him, obviously, run at the moment. And talking of running, we're going to be bringing on someone that's obviously been training with Doug and also does a lot of running himself. And he's going to be running a panel with me, a discussion. So we've just got about 60 seconds before we go live for that. So the guys in the studio just hold fire. But let me just talk through what we have got coming up. So as I said, at 12 o'clock, consumer event projections post the pandemic. So we got a great panel discussion. So Mike Seaman that I referred to, his chief exec of Raccoon Events. We've got Austen Hawkins of AfterF Events, Simon Burns of ICHF Events, and Nicole Cooper of Touchpoint Live Media. So we've got amazing guests in the studio who all run consumer shows. And we're going to get their view as to how the market in their space is going to look post the pandemic as we come out of it. Then at 1 o'clock, we've got the Great Blind Bake Off. For those that watched Event Relief back in March, it was an amazing session. The guys from ESSA were baking a cake, but this time they're doing it we're doing it blindfolded. So that's going to be interesting to see what they deliver. So we've got Luca Anuka from the Shaper Group and obviously chair of ESSA, Mark Clayton from Invexco, and Andrew Harrison, the director of ESSA, and also supported by Luke as well. So we also then have a quality and exhibitions panel discussion, a pre-record from Ufi. Mina El Fazazi is going to be running that. And then at 3 o'clock, Rachel Wimberley, who again has done an amazing job putting this together, is going to be joining me as Doug does his last 5K. So just remember, guys, if you're on the website, just hit donate. Event Industry Backyard Ultra, and let's make sure that Doug gets to his next mark of $34,000. We're at $28,557, and we're raising money for the Meetings Industry Fund, Eventwell, and the Indian Red Cross Society. So we're just about on time at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to bring in, firstly, Mike Seaman.
Hello, mate.
How are you?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. So we're going to have a panel discussion. So well, I'll let you introduce your guests as I bring them onto the screen, actually. But firstly, Mike, I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but do you want to just tell people who you are, Mike, and actually your involvement in today's challenge?
So I'm the CEO of a company called Raccoon Events. We organise B2C events for health and wellness markets. So particularly, you probably know us from the National Running Show. So Doug's actually downstairs he's using our office for the base for this run, and we've been sort of helping him out throughout the whole thing. But he's doing amazing. I've seen a lot of endurance runners, and normally when you get into the second half of this, you sort of tail off. But he's just bashing it out. I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible.
Amazing. So you've put together a fantastic panel for us, for people to enjoy, consumer event projections post-pandemic. And I'm going to bring on another one of the panelists, Nicole Cooper. Good afternoon, just about, Nicole. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm well, thank you, Dan. Hi.
Good. So, Nicole, you run Touchpoint Live Media.
Yes. So Touchpoint is a majority B2C event company. We do a veterinary event as well, but run a number of events in the dog industry. So we've got events last weekend, this weekend, and we're based not that far from Mike's as well in Godalming.
And I only got a dog three months ago, so I was having a good look at your website, and I'm sure I'll be popping along to the show, which I believe is in September, one of your shows. We've
got September, and in fact we've got at the moment.
Yes. Actually, Mike, I'll let you introduce Austen.
How can I introduce Austen? Austen, why don't you introduce Austen?
Austin, we've never met. I've tried to get you on my program a few times. You've blanked me, so you know.
Outrageous slur. Would never blank somebody as wonderful as you, Dan.
But it's good to meet you, and you're wearing a fantastic shirt.
I thought I'd make the effort. Come on.
Which is very good. So Austen, for those that aren't aware, Austen Hawkins, AfterF Events. Introduce yourself, even though I've just done it for you.
Austen Hawkins, AfterF Events, Managing Director. We run mostly consumer health shows in allergies and gluten-free and fertility, and we do some other tradie stuff as well. And we've been going for about 20 years, which makes me really old.
Well, you don't look at that over 20. Right. And we've got, I don't know if Simon was, Simon, you can hear us, is that right?
I can hear you perfectly, and I'm really annoyed because I put on a really lovely shirt for you all as well, trousers and everything, and you can't see any of it. So I'm highly embarrassed, and yeah, unbelievable.
That's all good. That's all good. Look, so you're here, which is the main thing. And if you could sort your camera out, but otherwise don't worry too much. The main thing is that we can hear you. So, consumer event projections post-pandemic, and we're going to talk about, if I can find my notes, here we are. So we're going to start off.
Did Simon want to introduce himself, mate?
Yeah, sorry, Simon. I apologise because I didn't see you on screen. It threw me.
No, it's totally all right, Dan, and totally understand. I think, this is the thing, isn't it? It's out of sight, out of mind, and you can't see me. So it's almost like I'm not here. But don't worry.
Sorry, introduce yourself, Simon from ICHF Events.
Simon Burns, Managing Director of ICHF Events. We're B2B and B2C in the creative space. So we run shows, 20 exhibitions up and down the country, things like Cake International. It's all in the creative space.
Amazing. I used to run the Cake and Bake show over at Media 10. So yeah, we were always trying to steal your clients.
Sorry, Dad, I don't know that show.
So thanks for that. Right. So on the list that Mike put together, we're going to talk about market sentiment first, because obviously I've run trade shows. I used to run the Idle Home Show, Cake and Bake, and then I moved on to trade shows. And I haven't got any evidence for this, but I guess my hunch maybe is that people think consumer shows, it might be a bit more difficult to get people back to, and because it's the public rather than business. Mike, I'm going to come to you first, and obviously we've got a decision coming up from the government next week about June the 21st. What's the market telling you at the moment? What's both from attendees and also exhibitors?
I think the opposite of what you just said, actually.
Yeah.
I think actually B2C will come back quicker than B2B.
Okay.
I think there's an appetite from consumers to have experiences again and engage. People just want to get away from Zoom. As nice as this is to see you all, it would be much nicer to be doing this in a pub. And actually, that's borne out in the stats. So we've got a show in 5 weeks at Farnborough. We've got 22,000 pre-reg there. We're
Amazing.
on a critical path for specs, which we haven't been for about 8 months, but we've just caught up literally this month. So the market sentiment is huge, because the difference, I think, between B2C and B2B is it's a straight return on investment. So a lot of our exhibitors come to our show and they make more money than they spend by going there. So actually, this is an opportunity for them to deliver profit that's been taken away from them. So as soon as they are allowed to talk to our customers, they will be straight there. Now, I get it's slightly different when you're dealing in B2B markets, because there's some discretionary choices and there's some sort of company health and safety policies that you've got to think of in these massive organizations. But actually, when it gets into straight sort of direct to consumer engagement, which is where we play, we're actually seeing people from the exhibitor side really keen to just sell, and from the visitor side really keen to just do something different rather than sitting at home.
Yeah. So thank you. And I'll come to you, Nicole, because I guess all of you around the screen rather than around the table obviously run, whilst they're consumer shows, they're obviously special in, they're niche, right? So the special interests. So I guess that the hope is that they haven't lost that interest. And actually, as you said, Mike, they want to get back to sort of engaging that community. So Nicole, same question to you in terms of sentiment and also how you're measuring it, which I guess is through, pounds through the door, people buying and exhibitors and stuff. How are people reacting to the market that you work in?
I think people are just really desperate to have experiences now rather than buying product online. It has been fantastic. A bit like Mike, we are doing really well on the visitor ticket side. We're slightly different because some of our events are outdoor and we have been able to run them. But I don't think it's about indoor, outdoor. I think it's just the appetite for people to get out and start living again, and experiences is the key thing. So I think that won't be an issue. I think that, and the traders are desperate as well to be doing well and getting back to business. The brands are the ones that have the larger brands where they have got policies as a company to get involved or not this year is slightly trickier. But on our side, we've again been quite fortunate. We're in the dog market. There were 3.5 million new dogs bought over the last year. So our market is very different to others in that it is it was very, very buoyant during COVID. So incredibly positive, really. We're launching more than we have in the past, but that is partly because of the market that we're in. But there is huge appetite out there in all fronts.
Yeah, fantastic. And as I said, I I added to that stat. We got a dog 6 months ago, so there you go. To add to my cat, 2 guinea pigs and 2 goldfish. So I'm going to rename myself. I'm going to rename myself Noah. Right, Austen.
Dan, maybe you should launch a guinea pig show.
And I could be the guinea pig of that show.
There you go.
So Austen, so AfterF Events does what it says on the tin, face to face, which obviously we haven't been able to do. But again, you run shows, a special interest niche. Tell us about what people are saying to you about your shows and how much they want to come back to them, because I think you've got if I'm not mistaken, apart from the mental health in workplace conference you got, I think next week, your allergy and free from shows is the winter one in November. Is that right? Is that your next one?
Yeah. So going back to your initial question, we run passion events, don't we? We put our events that people have got a passion for, and the beauty of that is that passion hasn't gone away. In fact, It's been sharpened. So when they can fulfill their passion, be it running, dogs, or in my case, gluten-free food, we can serve them. So from our point of view, visitors have been amazing, have been chomping at the bit, and as soon as we've opened our registrations, they've come flooding in. Like Nicole, the issue for us has been the big brands. So where we've got our big, significant companies that exhibit with us, they have policies in place that are stopping them coming to the show. So it can be a head office thing. So a head office in the US might say, no, you can't come. Also, where we've got brands that have to travel, i.e. they're not national brands, they're reticent as well. So sure. for us, visitors, not a problem, because we're a community passion led business. But from the exhibitor point of view, it becomes Swiss cheese at certain points, depending on the timing of your show. So we can all sit here and try and sound clever, but actually we are very reactive to what's going on with the pandemic. And I could tell you something today, and the government announces a delay on the 21st of June that creates a consumer or a customer confidence crisis that makes me look an absolute idiot tomorrow. And that's what we've all been wrestling with, is trying to go out to market with eminent confidence, because we sell certainty. We until recently, our events happened. Nothing stopped us. We fought tooth and nail to get our events on the floor because we'd sold a promise, and the promise was, we're going to put this event on. Lots of people are going to come, and you're going to have a great time. That promise has now been devalued because we've had to postpone so much. And now when we go out to the market, we have to be really careful in the way that we communicate to our brands, because we have to say, we think this, we believe this is going to happen. But if and when you're made to look a fool, you've got to go back to that same customer, maybe 2 or 3 times for me, and say, So yes, I'm a vaccination cheerleader. I think it's amazing. I think the country should celebrate what an incredible job that we've done. Wow, isn't that amazing? I believe that there will be different variants that come along. We don't care because we're vaccinated. I believe that we all want to rush out. I went to London. I went to Soho a couple of weeks ago. It was rammed. You could not move. Yeah, I've been to every event, every restaurant, everyone local. I'm out there. I'm spending as much money, and I'm shouting, and I'm screaming. I went out for dinner last night. I'm there. Yeah.
I think I could tell you went out for dinner last night.
I did.
You're still wearing the same clothes.
I got pissed and I didn't change. No, that's not true. That's not true.
So anyway, but it's good to hear. But you're right. There've been tales of companies having to go back to the same sponsors and exhibitors saying it's delayed, and then eventually people make their own mind up. Simon, tell us about what people are saying with regards to your shows, because again, there's been an explosion in your area, crafts and hobbying and cakes and all that over the last probably mostly 15, 20 years. Are people eager to get back to doing that?
Massively. I mean, the good thing about the panel here, you've got 4 organisers who have got really, really focused, passion-led events. And I think, ICHF is no different on that. So, we found it during the pandemic as well. It's funny, going back through recessions as well, we often find that people will actually pick up on the creative side and actually start new hobbies and try different things during a recession. So we've often found that actually during that time, we've actually picked up in business. Obviously, it's been different this time round because we couldn't trade. But normally during a recession, we do seem to do relatively well out of it. But really echoing what Austen was saying, we found that sentiment changes by the week. Depending on obviously what's happening in the media at the time. Obviously today it's funny, we've got the sales team sit outside my office, and it's gone very, very quiet today, funnily enough, whereas we could have an amazing day last week. So it's the unpredictability of it is very, very difficult to run a business with, and we're quite lucky where we deal with a lot of small or SME and micro businesses and family businesses. And, these guys are desperate to get back out there. These guys are desperate to get back out to shows. We're also seeing that with the audiences as well. I had a quote from the ticket office manager. She said, we had somebody phone in and she said, I don't care if I have to sweat all day in a mask, I'm coming to the show. Unfortunately, the show we had to cancel in June, but the sentiment is people are desperate to get back out. I did actually have a show, NEC show, in the calendar for the 24th of June, but I pulled that about 2 months ago. I'm just glad I did now, but we've got our first show this season starting over the August bank holiday, and we're actually 80% booked on exhibitors, and that's back to pre-pandemic numbers. So it's exactly where we want it to be. Whereas I've got a trade show 2 weeks later, which is at 35%. So it's very, very different. And I think the corporates are playing it different to the SME and the small family businesses.
Is that the Henley craft show that you're talking about? Henley? Yeah,
it is.
Nice, actually. I think I might come to that with my kids.
It's a lovely, lovely show.
So, okay, and
Dan, why are you visiting everybody else's show except the running show? Come on.
I'm coming.
There's a reason for that. I'll come and say hello. Right. We've all been doing virtual stuff, struggling with monetizing it and what people want, and replicating the serendipitous moments of networking and all this sort of stuff. Mike, coming to you, and you guys have done an amazing job, joking aside, your YouTube, your shows that you've done, and I know necessarily they haven't come with a commercial imperative to start off with, but it's to keep the brand and getting people engaged. How do you see that moving forward for your shows? So straight only back to physical, if you could, or are you now going to keep embracing that sort of 365 community?
I think we're all embracing digital now. I think it's, we all talk about omnichannel and all of that stuff, and it's important that digital is part of your strategy. I think I've always defined the difference between digital and virtual.
Yes.
I think that virtual event where you try and recreate an exhibition online, I've never quite managed to get that right. It's a bit clunky. And I remember back when we first did it, we had those 3D avatars, and that was really rubbish. Now the stuff's kind of okay, and it works for consumer stuff. It's really hard to deliver that, but you can deliver moments online. So the webinar style effect, and we did when we launched our Outside and Active Festival, we did like a 7-day festival to launch it, this website, and it was content delivered for 3 hours a night, which then drove through. It basically was just a driver of traffic within an existing website, and I think that's something that we'll continue to play with. Optimizing the value of our data in a digital way is something we really want to do. We've got a massive database of people. They want to hear from our exhibitors. It makes sense to do that on a continuous basis as opposed to just at the peaks for the exhibitions. But if I were to describe the strategy, it would be exhibitions are the tip of the spear. That's the way. Those are the big parties where we bring everybody together. We create a big fence around whichever community it is we serve, and we invite everybody in. We make it the best day out you can have and the best retail experience. But then underneath that, we need to layer digital, and underneath that layer e-commerce. And how you apply digital is different for every different sector. But for us, it's inspiring stories, it's expert advice, and then it's a retail experience.
Sure. Can I ask people just to press mute when they're not speaking, just because someone's got a million emails coming in. There's beeping in. Nicole, same question to you. How have you guys embraced digital, and also maybe e-commerce? And how do you expect that to continue going forward?
We've really embraced it. It's been a learning curve for us, especially on the commercial side, because it's one thing actually developing an online presence,
Sure.
but it's another thing trying to commercialize it. So for us, we're learning every day about it. We are very content driven as an events company, so it works incredibly well to do that digitally as well. And it has given us opportunities to engage with brands that we wouldn't have done before, that have got involved in the digital and now interested in our events. So it's a very different way of working for us. It's got added value for the sponsors, the big brands. So it's a win-win. Again, like Mike said, I don't think you can do, I mean, obviously it's every sector is different, but for us, it is definitely something that we are embracing in a big way. We've done affiliate deals, so we're looking at sort of how shopping works. And again, that's just an additional revenue stream. So we are going in that direction as well as live. And I think the two work incredibly well together.
Because I guess it's tricky, and I can't thank you for that, Nicole. I'll come to you, Austen. I guess it's tricky also when you start putting e-commerce in, because your show is what you want people, is a marketplace to a certain extent. So how much do you want to sell offline, and it's affiliates, and how much you're going to get from that. So what have you been doing, Austen, and what are you going to continue to do from a virtual perspective, a digital perspective?
We've done quite a lot. I don't like virtual shows. I think it's almost the wrong thing. How can you have a virtual show? It makes no sense to me. Yeah. But I do believe in platforms, and I do believe in connections, and I do believe that we have data and or different platforms to use to connect people, but it is market driven. So we have, for example, a meet the buyer on our fertility shows, where we take the patient and digitally connect them together with the clinic, and that works really well for both parties. However, that is what we also do on a live environment, and the money that I generate from that connection on the live, as opposed to the money that I generate on the digital, is fundamentally different. Sure. And a bit scary for me, if I'm honest, because I can generate good income on the live, but not so much on the digital. Also, my customers on that connection, some people just say, love digital, I'm in, others just don't. And so that's me being brutally honest about something that we've done. So that's number one. We have a Facebook Live where we do cooking demonstrations on our allergy and gluten-free show. We get 20 to 30,000 people watching it either live or afterwards, and with our Just Feed, and that's been really useful. We've created a club for all our database for our vegetarians and vegans, where we give them offers and they join and get discounts and tickets. We have a shop where we took all our exhibitors and put it onto an e-com shop where they can trade. And we do emailing to segmented parts of the databases for some of our exhibitors. And we have a recall. So if you're a supermarket and you've got to recall something and you want to get out to the biggest database in the world, I've got it. So there is some of what we've done.
Okay.
Yes, of course, we'll continue. Yes, it does offer value. Do I feel that the amount of work and effort that we've put in to create those connections, I'm getting reward for? Nope. Am I going to get rewarded for properly in the future? We'll crack on and try.
Time will tell.
That's Austen being brutally honest as ever, and he really should learn to shut up sometimes.
No, I mean, I think we appreciate that, and I think your sentiments are probably shared with many people, and I get the bit about the effort in and not necessarily the same amount of reward out. Simon,
Thanks, Dan.
Talk to us about virtual and digital and what you've been doing and what you think you'll continue to do, please.
Yeah, I mean, we've really embraced digital, and I feel it works particularly well if you're in that special interest place, and it's certainly working hand in hand with the shows. So we've started with back summer last year with an ambassador program. So with both the creative shows and the cake shows, we launched an ambassador program around the world. So looking for specialists in each region, so looking at the States, looking at Asia, looking at Europe, looking at Australia. We'd team up with a specialist in each region who would then be our ambassador, and then do an education program. So for example, every Thursday night, we'd do a Cake International workshop for 2 hours. But obviously the ambassador program is linked to the social media side. And we've literally trebled our social media in these last 15 months. And it's all linked to the ambassador program. They're all new people. And then on the back of that, we launched competitions around the world as well, where people actually pay to enter competitions. And obviously we'd use our judges here, whether it's on the dressmaking side, whether it's on the cake side, whatever. We use our judges here. People will send in 5 images of what they've created. People are paying, £20 to enter these competitions. We had one in Russia 2 weeks ago. We had 2,000 entries to it. Again, the one we launched in America. Again, we're seeing, it doesn't close for quite a long time, but we've already up to sort of 500 odd entries for it. So it's really looking at ways of bolstering what we've already got and not affecting the live events. We've also launched a shop, because obviously a lot of the companies that we deal with, a lot of the mom and pop businesses that we deal with, they had, some had no digital offering at all, no websites at all. So again, it's looking at where we can actually offer a service for those that have, for an industry, and obviously those that are particularly affected by the pandemic, not being geared up with even websites, because they've just relied on going out to shows. And obviously for a lot of these people, shows were their lives. They just literally went from show to show to show, sure, all year long. And you'd be amazed, obviously, how many live from hand to mouth. And as soon as that revenue line dries up, they're looking at what they can do. So the digital, the online shop, it was obviously really important to us to keep the industry thriving and keep everybody in business, because obviously if you lose half your audience exhibitor base, then it massively impacts the show. So it's up to us as organisers to try and help everybody and help everybody as an industry, cool, and everybody actually get together.
You make a good point, actually. Sorry, go on, Karen.
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, you make a good point. It's easy, and I guess I talk to the choir a lot. I talk to event organisers and people in the industry, and it's been hard and all this. I'm not saying we forget about the customers, but definitely on consumers, on consumer shows, lots of small businesses, and they've also had to reinvent themselves, right? Similar to what the event organisers have done. And it's interesting to hear you say that. So have you, out of interest, Simon, have you been offering them advice? Have you been sharing your learnings? Have you,
yes,
have you been giving them tools to do some of the things you spoke about?
Yeah, absolutely. On all levels, really. So we actually launched back in early in the pandemic a craft network as well. So right, the B2B owners and directors can sort of chat and talk and look at ways of how we actually help each other, which is how a lot of these ideas have actually come up. But yeah, we launched that back in the summer last year.
Sure. Nicole, I just want to come to you. It's something that people speak to me about a lot. So the relationship with, let's start off with venues, but I also want to talk about the supply chain, both before and going forward. How have you found the sort of extended event community? And do you think that, people are working together, or it's all BS and actually we're going to get back to slitting each other's throats and, the police are here for you, Austen. I don't know why I'm picking on you. Apologies. So yeah, Nicole, can you just bring that to life? What are venues? And I know you don't just work in, traditional venues. You work in outside spaces as well. But have they worked with you? Is it more of a partnership? What's the view?
They have worked with us in terms of payments and that side of it. They have. They sort of need to. It's been very tricky because we've got 12 events, and we've had to do a lot of juggling. And for us, it's about the competition, getting in there, the right dates, because we're restricted with heat and various other issues that we have to try and avoid. Sure. So it's been a juggling act. It has been difficult because often there'll be an organizer who has put has gone with the date, but then holding another date a few months later, and yet we can guarantee we wanted at that date. So from that side of it, actually, that's not the venue, but actually us as an organizing community has been trickier for us. But that's because we have got multiple venues, and we got to stay away from competition as well. So that has been interesting. Payments, the venues have to make money themselves as well. They've had a really tough time. But we've got there, and I don't think, I think they have been accommodating. I think it's always a two-way thing, isn't it? If we support them long term, they're gonna do what's right for us as well. In terms of the suppliers, well, we've just worked very early on, very closely with our suppliers, and have been good to them throughout the last year. Because I think if you look after people, they'll look after you. They'll treat you well when it comes to you needing them. So again, there's been, the usual thing, a lot of negotiation and moving things around. But actually, I think the suppliers just want to be out there working and getting work themselves, and are happy to help and working well. I think the whole community is everybody's just changed their sort of attitude to events generally. Sure. And I think people just wanted to be back on its feet.
Sure, thank you. Mike, same to you. I mean, you've launched shows, different versions of shows. You've got a show coming up in America. How have you found working with the supply chain and venues?
I think it's probably 99% of people have operated on the rule, which is don't be a dick. And I think if you generally operate under that principle, you will have a business and relationships moving past it whenever.
And you'll still be married, maybe.
Yeah, but those 1% of people won't. And I think it's kind of like a democratized suffering. If everybody suffers a little bit, we'll all be okay on the other way around. And I think our shows have never been more valued to people because they've been taken away and people have suddenly understood what they delivered and what they did. And so when they come back, people will come back in droves, is my firm belief. And our sponsors need them and our exhibitors need them because they need to create those meaningful face-to-face connections. Our suppliers and the venues need them because they need to make money and they need to eat, and that's how they get work. And actually what I've seen from most people is a willingness to share pain. And we've had to accept that as well. We have a role to play. If we just try and hold all of our cash and say screw them or screw them, then that's a really unfair way of operating. So you have to take the hit a little bit yourself if you're going to ask the venue to do the same. Sure. I'd like to call out the NEC and Farnborough in particular. They have been brilliant with us. And that's not always been the case in years gone by, but actually I think the teams that they've got in place there have been phenomenal to us as a business. We've launched into new countries and new territories. We're doing loads throughout the pandemic because it seemed like the right thing to do. When everybody else is looking left, let's go right. Let's double down, because there is an opportunity. I genuinely believe that as we come out of this, which we will, people will value live events way more than they ever have in the past. Yeah. And if you've built good relationships and you've looked after people and you're there for them, then they will pay you back in spades. But those 1% of people who didn't follow cardinal rule number 1, don't be a dick, they won't be there on the other side. And my hope is that the good people that have behaved in a good way, which is the majority, continue to do that post-pandemic.
Nice sentiments. Austen, do you subscribe to Mike's new Pareto law?
Mike, I think you should launch a new website, don'tbeadick.com.
I'm not going to look it up because that will get me in trouble. My search history. Right, moving swiftly on.
I've actually been humbled by particularly in the UK, the industry. Genuinely, it's why I love what I do, and I love everybody in the industry, because the vast majority have been completely awesome. I've spent a lot of time talking to people in the industry just to talk to them, or them talk to me, just because it's been a tough time. And let's not brush this under the carpet. Boy, oh boy, this has been unbelievably tough for all of us. And it has been a humbling experience for me, because all of them have been incredible. I would say I'm extremely nervous about the number of shows that are being concertinaed into a short space of time, and the ability of the service suppliers to be able to deliver results. I think there's nothing we can do about it, but there is a fear factor there that we are going to be making incredible demands on a small number of people to deliver our shows. I haven't got an answer to that, but that's something that as an industry we're going to have to recognise. And I think as organisers, venues and contractors, we might have to start working out how we share, how we overlap build and breakdown times, how we design our shows so that they're not being ripped down and put back up in a different guise, etc., etc. I think we might have to bring a new level of intelligence and organisation to be able to get these shows away. I think they're going to have to think very carefully about the size of stands and the scope of stands and the 4-metre stands and etc. like that, particularly in the short term. So I think there is some organisational, communicational issues that we have to think about. For me, on my smaller shows, my international smaller shows, have I had some challenges. Yeah. Because when you are a small guy, not paying a lot of money, to a hotel-based venue in Germany, that's an interesting debate, let me tell you. So I'll leave it there. But
well, okay. If you have to, if you must,
They sound like they're in the 1%.
We'll pick that up another time. Simon, same question. Thank you, Austen. Same question to you. In terms of relationship with venues and suppliers, how's that been going? How do you think that's going to carry on?
I've actually seen a massive change quite quickly from the start of the pandemic in March, as the months went on, and the stance they took right at the beginning, which was quite hostile, and then how that softened, and just the last 6 months, it's been a really positive experience with the venues that we use. But I'd say it started quite harshly and then sort of softened as the months went on, to the point where the demands for full venue fees in those first couple of months with shows that couldn't run sort of mid-March onwards, March and April, to obviously those really hard negotiations, and then the sudden softening. It's been an experience, and I'm just glad we actually, as a group, we've actually come out with the right result. But I think there was a lot of harsh conversations summer last year to get us where we got to, and I don't think everybody sort of played ball at the beginning. And I think it took us, it did take a lot of conversations to get the right outcome.
Okay, so I think pretty much everyone's saying the same thing. Play nice, and hopefully we'll get through this together. Just the last 2 or 3 minutes, just to say, I'm going to bring Doug back on at 12:50. I'm going to have an actual break in a few minutes, just for 5 minutes. But just for the next couple of minutes, just going to do a quick round robin in terms of projections for the year ahead. So I guess I'm talking about capacities, financial models, how we think things are going to go generally. Also, what we think people are going to have to do to get into a venue, whether it's show a vaccination passport or test or not. So, Mike, starting with you, what are your predictions of how the consumer event market's going to?
Like anyone knows, I mean, Boris will make his.
All right, well, that's the end of that then. I'll go off early.
I think, you look at what's happening at the Euro group games, and they're sort of giving an indication that there's probably going to be an extra piece of paper that needs to be shown, or phone screen that needs to be shown on entry, which will either be proof of double vaccination with a 2-week grace period or proof of a negative test or proof of antibodies. I mean, that's what it seems coming out. That's just my personal opinion. I think in reality, as soon as those lights are switched on, it's business as usual. Actually, business times 2. So if you can fit them in, get them in. I think we have to be a little bit careful about the adjustment period mentally for people. Do they want to go into a crushed aisle? Do you want to stand on a busy tube carriage after having a year where you haven't? Possibly not for those first few months, but I do think that will rebound a lot quicker than we might think in a negative environment. I mean, if you were out on the bank holiday, you know, I mean, people just lost their minds as soon as they're given a little bit of freedom. It's very quick that they return to normal.
Yeah.
But I do think the big thing that is coming, which we've all missed because we've been so focused on COVID, is the green agenda and sustainability. And I think that is going to be the hot topic for the next 12 months. Once COVID is done, and it will be done, and it will be done and done, people are going to start really pushing us as events to showcase that actually we are a sustainable solution. And if we aren't using this period to think about how we deliver our events in a more environmentally sustainable way, then we're missing that opportunity.
Sure. Thank you. Same to you, Nicole, in terms of sort of projections or predictions for the next sort of 12 months or so.
Well, I think, you know, humans are social people naturally, and people are very fast going to get back into not the same, but a way of socializing and being together in different spaces. In terms of projections, for us, we're actually close to our 2019 figures for our last events, but we are actually launching new events. So as a company, we're going to be in a stronger position by the end of the year, hopefully. But that's more to do with launches rather than existing events and what we're getting from them. But it's not going to be far off 2019 figures. For us, it's just the sponsorship is slightly behind, but that should be picking up now, especially after the 21st of June. If we are on track with that, then we should be in a good place. So I think, you know, it is pretty positive out there now. Good
to hear. Simon?
Yeah, I feel really positive about the live events industry. I mean, I think, you know, people, you know, we need to get out. We need that face-to-face contact. And I think it's funny. I was in Tesco's yesterday, and the people that are banging into me, the people that are breathing all over me, is the 50+ market, and this is my market. Obviously, most of them have been, you know, 90% of them have been vaccinated, so it's fantastic. So I think, you know, these guys are desperate to get out there, desperate to get together, and, you know, they just see it as, you know, our shows, they've got that community feel, and they need that touch point, they need that face-to-face contact. So I feel really real positive about even Q4 this year. Yeah, no, very positive.
Good. And lastly, Austen. What's the future going to hold for us?
I need to try and make sure I finish on a positive as I'm last.
Yeah, that's why I did it on purpose.
So yeah, thanks. So I'll start with the negatives and then finish with the positives. I have no qualms about us getting visitors to our passion-led shows. That doesn't scare me in any, and particularly outdoor events, by the way. So Nicole, I think it's going to fly. I do have remaining concerns about what the government is going to put upon us, and how those restrictions are going to apply based on up and down levels of infection rates, and that could cause customer confidence with some of our exhibitors. Of course, some people will be scared by the narrative that's gone out for the last 2 years, and that will take time to resolve itself, where others like me will be gung-ho and running naked down the street to any event that you can get to. So I remain belief that our industry is the best industry, it's the best form of marketing, it's the best return on investment, that we provide the best possible experiences and people will come to them from both exhibitor and visitor. However, we have to be very careful that we don't over-egg our pudding when government, who doesn't really like us, you know, if we're honest, government doesn't like us as an industry. all they see is us bringing big people together, and that's dangerous. And we have to recognise that and understand that and work our way around it. And we must not take conditions hoisted upon us as an industry that is not put on shopping centres or other people that bring lots of people together.
Yeah.
God forbid somebody telling me that I've got to test every person that comes into my show. If that's not what happened in a shopping centre, you can go on Mike's new website.
And with that sage advice, I'm going to thank you.
Very good. See what you did there.
I've used that before. I'm going to thank you all for joining this panel. So, Mike Seaman of Raccoon Events, Austen Hawkins, AfterF Events, Nicole Cooper of Touchpoint Live Media, and Simon Burns. You can check out his profile probably on LinkedIn or maybe Tinder. I don't know. ICHF Events. Thank you for joining. It's obviously you're joining for a fantastic cause. We're now up to $28,707. So we need just, I don't know, $5,000 or so to get to 34,000, the new target. So I'll let you guys go and wish you all the very best of luck. And I'll be at all your shows, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Take care.
See you there in your running gear, Dan.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Cheers.
Okay, so